This is Fred Antorno, and welcome to Tech Talk 360. I want to thank Lonnie Margot, Michael Quinn, and Team AirPro for making this possible. Our goal is to present topics that you won't normally see in other webinars. Tech Talk 360 is presented approximately every other month. The next webinar will be held on May 22nd, so mark your calendars. Now I'd like to turn things over to our two great hosts, Jordan Hendler and George Avery. George, you want to start us off?
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Thank you very much. And hello, Jordan. How are you?
Excellent. Thank
That's
you.
good. I'm excited about this one. I like this. I've heard Jimmy talk before. Of course, I've known Jimmy a long time, but really what he's done in AI is going to be a lot of fun. So I guess the best bet is to get a little, well, first of all, I think we forget to introduce ourselves. I'll let you go first, Jordan, and then I'll follow up.
Okay, I'm Jordan Hendler. I am the owner of Admin Concepts. I'm the administrator for both the Collision Industry Conference, I should say more than both. I'm also the executive director for the Washington Metro Auto Body Association. And then we also do administration for Society of Collision Repair Specialists. So my goal in my now 26 years experience is to bring what I like to say the collision repair perspective to the conversation. That's my representation today. So I like to wear I'm the collision repair nerd for the day.
I know it's a nerd, but that you're the collision person. Well, I'm the insurance guy, obviously, been around for a long time. George Avery, past CIC chair, past chair of the National Auto Body Council. And I also run the Insurance Roundtable, which is kind of a new thing that's starting, and we're pretty excited about that, and looking forward to seeing everybody at CIC pretty soon. So with that, let's just get a little housekeeping out of the way. And of course, the antitrust is number one. So let's read that real quick because we do need to read that out loud. As participants of this webinar, we need to be mindful of the constraints of antitrust laws. There shall be no discussions of agreements or concerted actions that might restrain competition. This prohibition includes the exchange of information concerning individual prices, rates, coverages, market prices, claim settlement practices, or any other competitive aspect of an individual company's operation. Each participant is obligated to speak up immediately for the purpose of preventing any discussion falling outside these bounds. And I think Jordan and I we're kind of used to that, and we'll keep our eye on it, but certainly would welcome you if you hear anything that you think's a little edgy. I'd rather caution, kind of err on the side of caution and say something, even though maybe we might determine it's not, but at least that we get it out there. And I think that's a good thing. Now we do take questions, and as those of you who've been on the call before, you know that we don't take the questions live. So Jordan, do you want to walk them through real quick how the Q&A works and how we separate them and look at them before we ask the speaker?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there is the ability for all of you as audience participants to interact with us as the hosts and with Jimmy as the speaker as well by using the Q&A feature. So there is a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen. If you use that, then you should be able to ask a question either by using your name as you have joined, but also then to and I apologize, Fred, I think you just asked us a question. Are you guys seeing the slides okay?
No.
You're not? Let me take just a moment to make sure that we're good. How about now?
Now we are.
Okay. I had to stop
it.
Do
I have to do my part again?
No, sir.
Okay. Good.
I think that we spoke to them anyway, so I think we're good. So we're just on the questions part, and I'll just rephrase that. So the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, you should be able to pop that up, and you can ask a question either with your name or anonymously. If there is an easy break in the conversation, we'll stop, ask the question. George and I will probably have even our own questions. If your question doesn't get asked during the session, we may hold it till the end to re-ask the question. But if you have any questions along the way, definitely put them in there and we'll do our best to answer as many as possible. So that's it for that, George.
That's good. All right. Well, I'm relieved I don't have to read the antitrust again, that's for sure. So with that, we've got a great speaker today. And, you know, as Fred says, they, you know, this broadcast is to bring unique things. And I know, you know, Jimmy's been around for a long time and a lot of people have some interest in AI, but we thought having him here, and of course with Jordan and I to kind of man the insurance side and the shop side, that it could be a nice conversation. So Jimmy, I want to welcome you. I know that you're the head of automotives for Tactable. Really appreciate your time. Anything, as you can see on the screen, there's a little bit of a bio, but certainly if you go out and look at Jimmy's bio online, it's certainly a little more impressive than what we put up on this slide. But it is focused on AI, and I know you've been very active in that. So Jordan, I think we're in a position to welcome Jimmy and turn it over to him and have some conversation about AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jimmy, if there's anything about your bio you feel like you'd want to share, you can definitely insert that.
Yeah, I just tell you, I like to personally thank everyone for inviting Tractable and me to speak. But a couple of the cool things that I'm able to do is that for CIC, I co-chair a committee with Gabe Morley, and that's the things that we look at, anything that's the future disruptions. And I really do see AI as a future disruptor. And then also for SECA, which is another very important standard setting, I co-chair the AI along with Raj Pujol. So there's a couple things that we're able to do, and I would hope that people would know that I am employed by a company that does AI, but I'm probably a bigger advocate of it, you know, and to see what it can do for our industry.
Do you want to go ahead and keep rolling, Jimmy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You got it. Yeah, so today what we're going to talk about is what you can actually go out and do if you're a shop owner or a recycler or an insurance company, someone in the industry, the whole ecosystem, what you can go out today and do, and then begin your journey, begin a way to engage with artificial intelligence. And we'll do the next slide, please. And this is just a quick overview of Tractable. We are a global company. We're fortunate enough to have some very big customers all around the globe. We're able to be in the insurance space and the space with recyclers, the space with rental cars. It's just a really good position to be in to see this from a global perspective and an ecosystem perspective. Next slide, please. Now, this is where it gets to be fun. And the best thing that I can really tell anyone about artificial intelligence is not to just think about AI as only one component. Think about it as three things, particularly with what we do and what's really being done in this space. You know, you have companies like Tractable, you have CCC, you have Solera, you have Claims Genius, you have a number of companies that are out there, Control Expert. But one thing we all have in common is the use of artificial intelligence, computer vision, and machine learning. So do think about this, particularly in our segment, about anything that you can see that becomes a visual task that you believe that a quick decision can be made from that, and what would you want to do to really automate it and make it fast. One of the things that when you buy this technology is that you're buying decisions. You know, you're buying decisions that hopefully you don't have to have someone else engaged with, because they are rather simple. There is a lot of complexity behind it, but at the end of the day, the question, like when we talk about first notice of loss, is the car repairable, or do we believe it's going to be a total loss? And that becomes such an important question, and it affects every one of us within the ecosystem. we really want to make sure that we start this vehicle out right on its journey, and so many do not. It's really depressing to be able to see the number of total losses that wind up at a shop. That really makes the consumer, they start to question the whole system. Why did they take my car here? And then, and probably the worst one, because I did retire from USAA. I led their global auto physical damage business for USAA, and for that, you can imagine that if you're an insurance carrier and you take the vehicle and you say, yeah, we believe it's going to be a total loss, and it goes to an assessment center, probably at Copart or Insurance Auto Auctions, and then that car gets returned, all of a sudden, everyone else gets your integrity gets questioned. Do you really know your job or not? And when the car gets repaired, unfortunately, at a collision shop, I've seen higher rates of returns because they didn't want their car repaired anyway. And anything that comes through that just starts to be linked to that old damage gets to be part of the new damage. It just doesn't leave. And then, of course, we have the claims experience. And with claim experience, that can be the shop or, can be the carrier. But at some point in time, an estimate or an assessment of damages is going to be made. And if you think about an appraisal document or a quick quote on a collision, really all that is just a series of decisions based on an assessment, generally panel by panel. Is that panel damaged? Yes or no? AI can look at it and it can really get a good idea. And one of the things that if you do purchase AI, what I want people to understand is that this is where they really start to need to make sure that it's customized to the way that they would do business. And one of the things that I've learned in 35 years in this industry is that if you can have your customers have access to the way that you do business, however they engage with you, just make sure that access is really good. And then customization. If you can really customize that experience for the way that your consumer wants it, or the way that your employees want it, the folks that you work with, and then ease of use. If you get access, customization, and ease of use, only three things. It's hard for a leader to do, but if you can really get those three down and really get the way that you want it to do business, you're going to be great. And that's what we have in an appraisal document. We have a decision: is the panel repairable? If it's not, how would we assess it? And then we take a look at what we can do as far as a assessment of claims, and then also insurance carriers do use subrogation. And one of the big tools that we do sell is an AI review tool. And what that means is that the carrier or the shop, they can both use this. And you got to think about how quickly you can move this claim through the system. We have a really big carrier, and their goal is to understand the claim. If it's repairable, send it to a shop. Their DRP will then write the appraisal, or even not their DRP, a shop that the customer wants. But when it's returned to them, you're able to review that and make certain that it's in the same way that everybody would want this claim to be. And AI can do that within seconds. Review that claim, look at the images, and then fast track that payment. Where there's a difference, then it can be called out. And another thing to think about if you're going to use this technology is to always ask, and if I could have everybody, just if you only take one note away from this thing, is just know the acronym HIL, H-I-L, and that's human in the loop. If anyone attempts to sell you any of this technology, and if they do a roadmap or a process map of how this is, make sure that you understand that they generate a symbol. Then they show, where is the human going to be in this loop? Where will AI do its work? And then where will the humans actually assist it? Because it's very hard to do any of this business and be compliant with if you're in a carrier, with a lot of the ways that claims are written, within the laws, to make sure that you do have humans at some point reviewing it. So understand where human in the loop is. And then lastly, we can talk about AI subrome. And this is one, and right now there is a group going on, or a meeting called NASP, and that's the National Association of Subrogation Professionals. It's going on right now over in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And then the goal there is how can we really fast track this exchange between carriers? What can we do to make sure that that once you commit to liability and an appraisal is written, the customer is paid? How can that adverse company have a demand set to them, and then how can the paying company be restored with their money? But this is just really a quick overview of how AI is used presently. And today, you can go out today and you can actually purchase and buy all those tools. Jordan or anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so
the next...
a couple things. One, could you talk about, well, first of all, AI, everybody, what they know about AI, at least that's how is, what you hear. I mean, and of course, sometimes you hear wrong stuff, but, insurance companies forever have had tools in place, filters, for example, that if a estimate comes through with frame damage more than X amount, or repair time more than so many hours, it gets flagged and bumped out. Could you talk about what the difference is between kind of what insurers did before by trying to scrub estimates coming in the door, and what AI offers and what the difference is?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you, and I can tell you from an experience standpoint, I was really lucky in the beginning of my career. I had some great mentors, and you think about Terry Fortner over at Nationwide, and I was on his staff, and during that time period, we really worked with building these type of tools, and we worked with estimating providers on how to really build a tool that you could do for a rules based. And and that's really what it is. And I'll tell you, we were so proud of it, and we leveraged every single thing that we had at that time. And I served on advisory boards and was able to have my 2 cents put in, and I made certain at that time that I always worked. And George, this is something we had in common. We've always been able to go to CIC, even though we worked for big carriers. We would stand on the floor and we'd be at the microphones. We could be in the hall, someone can grab us, and we would be an advocate for the right thing, I hope. And with that, you're able to now have an assessment of the appraisal, either as it's being written or run it after, and then see if something that you want to look at. Now, a big rule would be like on a quarter panel. I know most of the time, if a person wrote, most of the time people had 8 hours. If there was 8 hours or 8 units of labor on a quarter panel, it would kick out, and then that would be one that you would want to see. Now, here's where the difference is, and I like using the quarter panel one because it's really significant. That's a big part of the car. And with that one, you now don't need to write a rule like that. No matter what the number of labor hours, let's say it's 10, 12, 15, whatever it is, now the AI with computer vision can actually assess the image of it and say the shop wrote 9 hours. Before, it probably would have kicked out if you had it set at 8. Now it won't, because if it's calibrated, and if it sees that it's calibrated to 9 hours, that one goes through. So that's really your biggest thing, is that you can think about it and treat it like an employee that would be looking at an appraisal with their eyes, based against what how the AI would be programmed, So that's really your biggest one. It doesn't kick out just because a rule says something. it would kick out when it actually sees something.
So, Jimmy, I do have questions on that actually specifically because like, and I'm going to be super candid because this is the feedback you would get right on the floor of CIC. Yeah, there's a lot of shops that would say, and this was a feedback thing I already gotten when I was asking about this to a couple of my colleagues before we had the call. So the question really comes down to, is this one of those garbage in, garbage out possibilities too? Where if, let's say, using your example, there's a lot of repairers who repair quarter panels improperly or do not utilize the OEM repair procedure to where, like, let's just call it like there is an improper, you say the 8-hour thing, and there's a lot of quarter panel. If fixed properly, if all of them were fixed properly, it would be a significantly higher thing. As an example, utilizing your example, does it know, like, for instance, Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, BMW, Tesla, for instance, have an average of maybe 30 something hours just because of like their repair procedures and what dictates the difference. Um, you know, that's, I guess my question is, because the lowball estimate is exactly as prevalent today, if not worse, with the virtual estimating than it ever has been. Like the disparity between the initial estimate for, loss reserves and such to what an actual repair plan and actual repair bill is. Now the disparity is much bigger. So they contend that AI is dumber than the person who used to be an insurance representative that was educated. So can you speak some to that? Just that disparity.
Sure.
I hear that a lot.
Oh yeah, and that's really a very good point. Now with this one, we'll stay with the quarter panel. Let's say that the AI sees it's going to be 10 units of labor. Someone writes 3 because they want to grab the job. That too would kick out, and that would say there's not a match here from the way that it's calibrated. Now that's one thing if you see that, but let's really look at the deeper question. AI is only as good as what information and data is available. It's only as good as that. The thing that we have now is that it's really hard. And if you take a look at a company like OEC and Taylor Moss over there, Tanya Sweetland, before she just joined Caliber, I think that they've done an incredible job, particularly in getting these OE procedures. I can't think of anyone that's probably made it easier to get it. Now the task is to be able to link up what they've been fortunate, because it's hard to find some of this. Sometimes it'll take a couple hours, to find exactly what those procedures are. And that's really where we are. And thank God we are at that point now, that we have a technology that can see something. And now we've had it easier. We've had some vendors. Only one comes to mind right now is OEC. But when we've had some vendors now that can surface that data very quickly, now the goal is to get those companies to be able to work with companies that provide AI, and then put that in as part of the as the AI's overall general database. Yeah. And that's where we are at that point in time. So if we can get those type of deals done and get that integrated, we're going to have a system that, well, I think we'll all be even more proud of.
So, and that, just to follow up with it, it's not just a garbage in as far as like a lack of data either. I recognize that there are a lot of repairers who are still not pulling repair procedures and trying to utilize that as the basis for their repair processes. I'm like, I know that this is a whole industry ecosystem problem.
Yeah, and what I would really like to see. I know for certain that you take Mark with the Audi program. That program I know has a lot of teeth. I know that one because I have two Audis. That's my brand of car that I love.
Yep.
Yeah, and so with that one, if just imagine if we have all the companies, all the carrier, I should say, all the manufacturers that have developed certified programs, if they're able to easier to get that and then be able to get that information out to the data providers and companies that do AI, then we could actually be able to use that much, much better. That's the type of things that, you know, hopefully in the next year or so, we'll see our committees really push for, is that. But the good thing is that we're starting to see terrific amount of movement there. All Data is another company that comes to mind that does a really good job with that. So now taking that and then integrating it within these platforms, hopefully we can have open systems. Open systems and platforms will really lead to a much better, more of a better environment for everyone in the system.
Which that we have two questions in there, and one of them would just be the follow-up is, do you feel like that's part of the AI decision making already, or are we still waiting for those deeper integrations to happen?
We are waiting for those deeper integrations to happen. Some of the more easier rules, I shouldn't say rules, but procedures, they're in there. But the more complicated ones, a lot of that if then that type that you need to have, particularly when it calls out maybe certain adhesives or certain things like that, that's where the AI starts to lose it. And that's the type of data that it needs. And a good way to be able to do it, I believe, is to be able to have this estimate repair line, but then bring it down in and put it into the body of the appraisal document or put it into the body of the review document. And to say, now that this has been written, here are the procedures that you need to have, and then check against that. That's what's at the bottom, then put it into the actual workflow or I should say the estimate lines. And that's something that I've really seen over the years, is that I think everybody has, you know, you would say that this is a 10 or 12 line appraisal. That would be a pretty hard hit car. Anymore, that's really not a hard hit car.
Yeah, that's just starting out.
That's right. That's exactly it. So a lot of this has really changed. And that's probably the best way to look at it, is that each of these would be a decision that's made, and then it needs to be an entrance into its own appraisal line item with the proper work that needs to be done on that line item. But no, I'll tell you, I know that my company, and you think about what my job is every day, is to go out and try to. In fact, I'm at IBIS right now, and one of my missions is to really try to make certain that we're able to integrate this type of data, because that's something that I know that everyone wants.
So you're saying you didn't pick that curtain color?
No. No, Mr. Homewood Suites did this one.
I don't recommend touching them very much either. Jimmy, that's really helpful. And I have two more questions. So one that also from an audience, and well, they're both from the audience really. Has Tractable investigated the use of natural language processes, NLP, in the estimating / triaging process? And maybe a minute or so on what NLP is to our audience?
Yeah. If we start to think about it, a lot of times now, if people go to the internet and they start to use these very easy AI solutions, and then you tell it that I would like, well, if you wanted to paint a picture of a bird flying with something, you're really talking to it, and that's just natural language processing. So yeah, that type of technology, and this is where it really gets to be fascinating for me. Gosh, this year I'll be 62, and I have never seen a more robust environment. And it's very exciting. I get to work with folks that are PhDs in this. They're graduating from college, and we're able to get them from Cambridge and other schools. So we do have our fair share of PhDs that are working on nothing but that. And they're doing just some wonderful things. So yeah, that type of work is absolutely being done back behind the scenes. a tremendous amount of money goes into that too. I have to tell you, if you take a look at what our budget is, really the development and the research and keeping a big staff of folks on like that, that's where a lot of it goes.
So I'll ask you, and George, if you need to interject also, but I'm trying to give us our audience feedback questions here. And this one, I tend to have a part B too. So will AI promote more collaboration in the market rather than the closed systems we have today? Which I will say is probably part of the repairer frustration, is it oftentimes repairs feel like things happen to them and not for them. So I'll add that little tidbit as, you know, how can we increase collaboration with these
Yeah.
systems?
Well, I'll tell you, you have Jimmy from Tractable, and then you just have Jimmy, right? And I'll tell you just how what Jimmy thinks. I have seen over the years a lack of companies being an advocate for the consumer. And you know, I was real fortunate with my time at USAA. You know, just about every year I was there, we were able to take the highest JD Power rating in service, and that feels really good. But what I'm getting at now,
can you go back to USAA?
I
I'm kidding. It's just
don't know. I
just
don't
a
know.
joke.
But what I do know is that this is now, if you what you see on the screen is actually an opportunity for the certified shop programs, body shops, MSOs, people that are there at the front end to really start to take that mantle and own the consumer advocacy. Being able to, before you used to be able to call up a carrier and you could ask them, you know, hey, I just got into a wreck. You think what the damage would be, you know, and you would have more of a conversation. But you're taking now in these digital journeys that's not really working with you, and there's a lot of cost cutting provisions going on it, and so now I see that with this use of AI, and this is really why I'm really pushing this now, is that any person that owns a shop can now be able to have AI out front on their website and say, send a picture of your car to us. We do this now for a couple major, very major MSOs. Send a picture of your car, and then within seconds, we're able to tell them, or the shop is, they use our technology, they're able to tell them, yeah, the car is repairable. Let's go ahead and do something like that. Or to be able to say, at this point in time, it looks like there's a lot more damage on the car. But what you're answering is that basic human need of be my advocate, tell me what to do next. The deductibles now, they think they may have $1,000 deductible, and it would take quite a bit on the car to breach it. Little do they know, a $1,300 headlamp, that's your deductible right there. And do I need to report this to the carrier yet? Or is this something that I can just work with the shop and get it repaired? That's really where I see AI. And that's, you know, you take some companies like Ryan Taylor has a company out there, and a Body Shop Booster. And they're able to work with shops and then be able to have this as a plugin on their website. And that's where AI, and you're not using your staff for that. You're allowing AI to interface. You can now have a QR code if you would like, put it on the side of your shop. And then a customer come up after hours. And then they can come to your shop, you know, if they come by there at, let's say you close at 7, they get by there at 7:10. There's a QR code that, hey, take a picture of this QR code. It sends a link to their phone. You're now engaging with them. So yeah, that's what I think, and that's what I absolutely know, because I've helped really design some of this work, that you're working with these consumers, you're being much more of an advocate. And that is more of an open system type of thing. But you know, personally, I'm a big supporter of open platforms. You really are going to get the best out of each niche provider.
So Jimmy,
All right.
before we continue to ask more questions, I know you have one additional slide. Do you want to
Sure.
get there
Yeah,
first?
yeah. If you want to get to that one.
Okay.
And with this one, this is kind of an idea about where AI is presently being applied all across the ecosystem. And one of the ones that I think is pretty cool is what the recycling industry is doing, and particularly a big company, LKQ. In fact, my son works for LKQ. He works for the Elite Tech division of LKQ down in Texas, and what they're doing is to be able to use technology, our AI technology, and use it in the way of taking a look at a vehicle that's for sale at either IEA or Copart, and then with their bidders know with insights how many panels are on the car damaged, and then if those panels would be reusable, and would that be a good car to buy in order to place those parts in the inventory. It gives them a really distinct advantage. It's really neat. And then what we're doing with straight-through processing, there's a company called Admiral, and we are a global company. We do business in Japan and all across Europe, and Admiral's in Spain, and they have a very neat way of engaging with the customer. And this is your really minor claim, where the car is drivable, there are no injuries. Generally, it's a single car collision, or maybe they just hit another one, but it's minor. But they're able to take those images at first notice of loss. They send a link to the phone. This is what all carriers. It's the most elegant solution I've ever seen in my life, ever. And they're able to take those images at the time of loss, upload them, make a decision: is the car repairable or not? If it is repairable, they do an estimate of visual damage, and then they're able to send a check through ACH to the consumer. So between 7 to 15 minutes on these, drivable car, no injuries type of losses, they're able to have the claim reported, the vehicle seen, and an estimate of damages, what's visible done, and then a payment made, so that way they can go to the shop of choice and then begin repairs. So there is, and that's pretty slick. But yeah, there's a lot of ways that you're able to use this AI across the ecosystem.
I worked with a guy, one of the smartest guys I've ever worked with, and his saying was, we need to get to the point where you can pay the consumer before the glass hits the ground. And it just sounds like maybe, we're slowly getting to the point where we can get things solved a lot quicker. Here is my problem. My problem is that I've been in AI, around AI forever. And Jimmy, I would like you to think about this question. And that is, there's a lot of people, AI, that's ridiculous. And I wonder if you have a list of things. Well, do you like this? Yeah. Well, that's AI. Do you like this? Yeah. Well, that's AI. I didn't know if there were some things on the top of your head that we enjoy, that AI provides something that we like, that we don't even realize it. But here's my problem. My problem is that I believe that is the more and more that we automate, the more we're going to have the need for, not more, but we're still going to need people that can manage exceptions. And so once it gets kicked out, well, and I'm old, so I'm going to say this, but young people today can research faster, in my opinion, can research faster than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Trouble is if they can't find the answer, I hear that they don't know what to do. And I've had some experience where I've had groups of estimators in front of me and they go, what do you do in this case? Well, you need to make a decision, take into account everything and make a decision. Where's that written? It's not written anywhere. Well, it needs to be written down. You know what? I don't need you. Okay. Because we're going to get to a point where a machine's going to take care of most of it, and I'm going to kick it out to somebody that needs to put a pair of human eyes and can make a decision. Do you see any risk with today's workforce? Sounds like I'm throwing a big poop pile on here, but what I'm trying to say is, do you see any risk or attention that needs to be focused on the exceptions. Don't, we're all focused on AI and it's popping stuff out. Are we looking at the people that are looking at the pop outs? Do you see any risk there?
I agree, George.
Yeah, the risk is not training your people. Having AI as a tool and let that be an investment for, again, these real easier type of interactions, where you can engage with a consumer where you need to. But when the consumer does interact with you, that's at that point in time, that's where you need to have invested your time, and on people really understanding. Number one is empathy. I don't want to get too soft skills, but understanding that this is an event that happens generally with them once every 7 years. And one of the things that I did find out when I was in the insurance industry is that we have a perception that the younger folks will be quick to use these tools, and they'll work on and they'll advance their own claim. That's really not true. Well, what I found was that the people that have had one or two of these accidents before, they kind of knew what next steps were. They were able to use the digital tools to advance their claim much easier. And the way that we measured it was that I had a group that would say, for all the folks in this age range that used our digital path, how many also got on the telephone. Mm-hmm. And you could tell just about every single one of them that were younger, they still want that advice. They still want someone to help them through what happens next. How do I get a rental car? A lot of things that you think that you are, or that a lot of people know they don't. So that's where that's where we had a lot of training put towards that group. And then that's how you really kept your service numbers up, to see that if someone had a digital interaction with you and then they also had a voice, that's the person that you want to reach out to and say, hey, can I help you? And then you score that person on customer service, you'll go off the charts. But yeah, it depends on leadership. But leadership does need to know that this computer vision, AI, machine learning can take care of these tasks. But at the end of the day, once it, like you said, once it fouls out, you need a person that you've invested time and training into to really know how to understand and how to answer a person's question much better. How to see what they're really asking that they're not asking. How to give them a little idea about how to get this thing down the road. And the idea of supplement comes up a whole lot. And I'll tell you, with every one of these AI tools, I haven't seen any of them that reduce the supplement 1 penny, because you're just looking, that's on the outside of it. So it's better to really explain that yeah, you have a visual assessment of what's on the outside, but once a professional takes your vehicle apart, it is going to be more. And the more that you've trained people and trained the customers, just like Southwest has trained me on how to get A16 as my number and get in my aisle seat, right? That's how you really need to be able to have your customers trained, and they'll really appreciate you for it.
Yeah. So, how about that other question? Is there some AI that's happening out there, especially in the industry, that would surprise somebody that might be, cursing AI under their breath a little bit, and then you go, really? Well, did you like this? Yeah. Well, AI does that. Did anything pop to mind that we?
Yeah, there's just so many experiences that we have, and they really start when you start to like wake up, and you log onto your computer. That thing that sees and gives you your news feeds, that's probably one of the best ones in the world. It really knows your taste. It knows what you're looking for. People that create a song list, they ain't creating a song list. AI has created that song list because they said they like 3 or 4 others. So yeah, there's a lot of AI that's really out there. That's shaping your experiences. And I'll tell you too, you get in my wife's car, it acts differently than when you get into my SQ5. Because it's had a different driver. It's programmed different for how this thing's going to run, and so those cars adapt to the driver as well. So yeah, there's so many things out there. You're right, that if you were start to count it, you gotta start it when you first wake up. And who knows what they're using to help them go to sleep with these different sound machines and things like that are programmed. Yeah, AI is right there. The thing that we really need, or that we really have now, is this computer vision. And then if anybody uses any of these type of games where they have some type of virtual reality, that's again using computer vision. When you do your phone and you try to take a picture, there's really some artificial intelligence helping you take a much better picture, because you probably wouldn't have taken a nice one of that little bird you saw outside your window. So yeah, it begins very early in the morning, and it's with you all the way through the night.
Yeah, there's been a few things on Google that I thought was just between me and Google. And then all of a sudden I get a couple reminders that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So that's what I had, Jordan. Those are the ones I had.
We
And I
have
think-
one more in our Q&A.
I was just looking over there.
Yeah, so I'll ask this as like maybe the last question, Jimmy, and then we can wrap up as well. So does Tractable intend to open source any more of their work to help research community? I know it says PERC-MAE paper was published, but I haven't seen anything else.
Yeah, I tell you, that's something that you see our leadership discussing all the time. And whoever wrote that question, I really do appreciate it. Yeah, the more positive feedback we get with that, and the more that we know that people really want that type, we'll certainly be able to do it. And I know we're here to talk about automotive, but we also do property, we do homes, and we do that in Japan. So you're going to see us really get into where the consumer, they have a damaged car and damaged home. So yeah, you're seeing Tractable just go out there and really becoming an AI leader.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
So
Jimmy.
Jimmy, just could you spend just a few seconds on those terms that were just said?
I don't want to right now. It will take us down a rabbit hole that we only have a couple minutes left. But anybody can contact me, and we'll have those really more intensive conversations.
Sure, that sounds good. And I know, Jimmy, one of the things I might say is I don't think that we have your email address on here, but certainly anybody could reach out to Fred. They got his email from the invite here, and he could share those questions with you or share your contact information with those folks that have more
absolutely.
questions.
Yeah, it's just really just
No
my
problem
name,
at all.
james.spears@tractable.ai.
Okay. Yeah,
Pretty
perfect.
cool.
Then I think that has, I believe, answered all of the questions. And then George and I are gonna do like a post-show wrap-up for the audience, and then tell them about the next session that we have going on. So Jimmy, on behalf of all of us, we thank you so much for taking the time to do this presentation for us today. We know, especially in like the gadgets and technology, which is under AirPro's purview for sure, that AI is on its way to everything we touch as the repair community. So I'm looking forward to repairer-driven solutions. That's definitely what I would like to see a heavy shift to, just because I know that the frustration lies there, and a lot of those customer interactions, I agree, like you said, could be made so much better for everybody involved. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, everybody, don't go away. Don't leave us. We're trying a little demo here. We'd like to have a little post thing with Jordan and I. We got some requests or some information that suggests that we give it a try. So Jimmy has allowed us to cut him just a little bit short, and we're going to do the post show. Now Jim's going to sit in the back and is not going to be part of it. And I guess one way to think about it, I'm getting tired of sports analogies, but football, you know, and afterwards.
We like sports, George.
Yeah, I do. But anyway,
So
but Jordan, I got to tell you, you know, of course, I've known Jimmy for a long time. I was involved with AI early on when I was with the company that I worked with before. There was a lot of value. One of the things that I see, though, on the insurance side is once a new technology or a new procedure comes up, and if it has a hint of saving staff, we do it 100%. And nobody ever says, wait a minute, let's let it run first and see if it works.
sure.
But my concern that I said before is that, and I think this applies to the repair as well, Jordan, is that we get all this whiz bang with AI, but there's going to be a portion that kicks out, and now you're back in the same damn boat, same boat you were before, and you got to talk to somebody. And remember Jack Faluka said, I've never met an intelligent adjuster I couldn't get along with. So you're kind of right back in the same
Yeah.
thing. And that's one of my concerns with AI is I think it's going to do some things. And I think it's going to, for the shop, AI is going to go, no, I don't think so. No,
Yeah, which
it has such a wide view.
I'll even echo that with the, I do firmly believe that smartphones have made us all stupid. It definitely makes us absent-minded. And I do think with the addition of all of the ways, like we joked about this in the pregame, when you schedule an appointment with anybody, you get a text, you get an email, you get a phone call. There's just like all these additional methods of communication, but yet personal skills are not there anymore. And I think that, to your point, like the next generation, so we did see in COVID, I feel like a mass exodus of very well trained insurance personnel, and they were replaced by not trained, not repair savvy individuals who then, cannot make those subjective, objective decisions that you were talking about earlier. So to me, it's, while AI is getting smarter, the human element, like Jimmy was saying, that human in the loop, I feel like they're not getting smarter. And then maybe regional management, there's a lot of repairers having to go to regional management, and I don't know if it's much better.
Yeah, in defense of the insurer though, people lose sight of the load that comes in the door. The company I work for, I think it's in 34,000 claims a day? I can't remember, but it's a hell of a lot of claims. And that drives an insured to use this technology. And I was being kind of a smartass when I said, if it's going to drop people, let's do it all right now, which has happened. But I just think that, Jimmy gave, I think, some good advice to the shop that you probably ought to get engaged. And the shop's defense is like, what now? Gosh, it's every week it's something. But at the same time, on the insurance side, consumers are demanding quicker, faster, and easier. And AI, I am a big supporter of AI. Hod Lidsom, who's the professor at Columbia, he's the big autonomous guy and the AI guy. And the conversations with him and what he sees in the future is just, make sure eyes very wide and in excitement. I mean, it's not that you're surprised bad, it's good. But and I think if, at least what I heard from Jimmy was, I'm not buying or selling. Here's the basic concept here, but I'm telling you, from what I've got, it's something you probably need to get engaged in. And I can tell an insurer, I mean, I know how the insurers work and where they can use it. I don't know on the repair side, Jordan, where a shop, where do they start? I don't know.
I have seen, for instance, like iCar's virtual reality training modules that they're trying to implement. Like, that's training is an option because, repairers spend, especially in the OEM certification realm, they spend weeks and weeks and weeks away from the shop. So if there's opportunities even for repairers to train virtually using AI, I believe that if there are ways for, I know obviously that virtual estimating has become pretty prevalent. And I'm sure that that's where AI is really heavy. But at the same time, like, how does that help I'm going to use the words repair planner, so someone who is actually trying to involve every aspect of repair procedure, every aspect of parts ordering. There's got to be functionality in those realms. Like, how can we make a parts manager's life easier? How can we make a repair planner's life? I do see that there is a lot of possibility there. And that's where I hope to see our industry pick up greatly in those areas. And I think that, and I know Trent made a comment in the Q&A, like, hey, watch it, I'm Gen Z. But that's exactly who we need to be hiring in the repair facilities as repair planners, as customer service representatives, as technicians, because everything is geared electronically anymore. Information is all the key. As much as you can research and learn, the better you can get. So that's my hope. My hope is that it becomes every position in our industry, inside the shop, inside the insurance community, for the customer, like every aspect. I feel like there's opportunities everywhere, especially after hearing more even about what Jimmy was talking about.
Yeah, it's just the early adopter versus, just everybody's in a different spot. By the way, I do need to apologize to any Gen Z. Did you see the question that came in?
Oh, no.
Comes in and said, hey, Georgie, careful.
I think we
Careful.
both were getting that comment because I do see the issue. I see,
Yeah.
the younger community has a harder time with communication, in like real life communication. So like that's the thing I don't want to lose, is that human touch, human interaction of people. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I don't think you can replace that. I think it just needs to be implemented at the right time, because
Mhm.
there's some very smart people that are just wasting their time, taking call after call.
100%.
Well, I think Jimmy did great. Appreciate it. Jimmy, I know you're sitting back there and probably a bunch of stuff going through your head, like what the hell is Avery talking about? But I can tell you, and that's the benefit of Tech Talk 360, is to get this out there. And I enjoy visiting, always enjoy visiting with Jordan. We don't always agree,
Mhm.
but I always like to get her perspective from the collision side, and I hope it was beneficial for you. We're thinking about doing this again, and we certainly love to get your feedback. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jordan if you have any last words, and then on to Fred. And
Yeah, I think what we wanted to make sure we covered was the next Tech Talk 360 is on May 22nd, 2 p.m. Eastern. So go sign up early as soon as you get the invitation to sign up. Get on that. Fred, is there anything else that you wanted to add? We really appreciate, I know George and I have an opportunity to represent our communities here, and we look forward to it every time. And thank you again to Jimmy for opening up another segment of our brain.
yeah,
Well,
thank you.
I just want to thank you, Jordan, George, and especially Jimmy. Great presentation. That was awesome, and we look forward to seeing the audience again on May 22nd. And have a great rest of your day.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.